So we are live on YouTube. A very good evening to one and all. Myself, Dr. Sapna Suri, Associate Professor and MBA Course Coordinator at DYPUSM, would like to welcome you all on today's webinar on post-COVID-19 skills required for successful career and life. In association with Indian Merchant Chambers, MSME Chamber of Commerce and Industry of India, New Delhi, WTC, World Trade Center, Navi Mumbai, Maharashtra Chamber of Commerce and Industry and Agriculture, MCCIA, Global Exports India, Global Team. I wish to throw some light on our university. D.Y. Patil Deemed to be University is UGC recognized. We are AICT approved. We have been NAC re-accredited A. We have been ranked at 88 by NRIF. I would now like to take an opportunity to introduce to you our own D.Y. Patil Deemed to be University School of Management. We have been located at Sector 4 CBD, Belapur, Navi Mumbai. We have state-of-art infrastructure. We provide 100% placement assistance. We have a 3-year BBA course, the admission for which is open. We have a 2-year MBA course, the admission for which is open. Due to this pandemic, we are providing admission to the students so that whoever wishes to take admission can get in touch with us. I would now like to introduce to you Dr. Vani Kamath. Dr. Vani Kamath is currently the Dean of School of Management. She is a business management graduate and a postgraduate from Mangalore University. She has completed her PhD in finance. She has more than 35 research papers published in national and international journals of high repute. It includes Focus Index and UGC Care journals. She has 16 years of teaching experience. She has been awarded with Best Teacher by Higher Education Forum on occasion of Teachers' Day. She was also the Board of Study members of Mumbai University affiliated colleges. I welcome you, Dr. Vani Kamath. I would request Dr. Vani Kamath to kindly address the participants.
Thank you so much, Sapna, for the kind words and the wonderful introduction which you gave about me. Now, I would first like to introduce our university as well as our School of Management to all the audiences who are there on YouTube. After that, I'll give a glimpse of why we are having this webinar, and then we can go ahead with the webinar. Let me first share my screen with all of you.
Could I share the presentation?
Yes, please. Yes, Sapna. Yeah, Sapna, I'm able to do that now. Just a minute. Yeah, Sapna, if you have the PPT, can you please share on behalf of me?
Please allow me to share the screen. I'm not been able to share the screen.
Yeah, just a minute.
Who's disabled? It is written.
Just a minute. Huh?
Vani and Sapna, I think I'll start off without the slides. And when your slides come in, you can add on from there.
I would now like to introduce to you Professor Dr. R. Gopal. Professor Dr. R. Gopal is basically an engineer from IIT Kharagpur in mechanical engineering. Subsequently, he did his MBA, ICWA, PhD, and postdoctoral research degree. Professor R. Gopal is currently the director, HOD, and former dean of D.Y. Patil deemed to be University School of Management. He has more than 27 years of corporate experience at Bush India Limited, Larsen & Toubro, Tata Economic Consultancy Services, and at SAIL. Additionally, he has more than 30 years of teaching experience in various B schools in and around Mumbai in the areas of marketing, finance, and general management, etc. He was also the visiting faculty in several B schools in USA. In USA, he has conducted several programs on topics like how to do business in India. He has also published more than 200 research papers both in Indian and foreign journals. He has been awarded the best outstanding paper at the Asia Pacific Marketing Conference held in Malaysia. He was also a reviewer to several international journals having a high impact factor. He is well conversant with the rules of AICT as well as UGC rules, also New Education Policy 2020. He is a guide for MPhil and PhD students of several universities in India. More than 100 research scholars have received their PhD and MPhil degree under his guidance. He is also the author of several books and is the chief editor to several national and international journals of review. Additionally, he has written several books on management, which have been highly received by student and corporate community. Some of the books that has been published, to name a few, are Marketing Strategy and Application, second edition, Himalayan Publishing House, Case Studies in Business and Industry Management, Indian Context, Himalaya Publishing House. Few books which are under print are Research Methodology, Marketing Finance. He has successfully conducted several webinars on topics like impact studies due to COVID-19, national education policy, career development, etc. He has also conducted many national and international conferences. The latest has been on the theme Make for Bharat Go Global. Professor Dr. R. Gopal is a recipient of many awards. To name a few, is Rashtravidya Saraswati Puraskar Award awarded by International Institute of Education and Management, Rashtra Vikas Ratna Award awarded by Economics Growth Society of India, Glory of India Award awarded by Indo-British Society London, Rajiv Gandhi Education Excellence Award, Best Teacher Award awarded by Higher Education Forum, Best Management Teacher Award in Management Education by MTC Global and Knowledge Cafe, Educationist Award by National International Compodium New Delhi, Star of Asia Award, and many, many more. Recently, MSME Chamber of Commerce and Industry of India, New Delhi, has declared Professor Dr. R. Gopal as a Corona warrior. His motto is always to transform every student into an achiever so that every student will create a success story. I welcome you, Professor Dr. R. Gopal. So I would now request Professor Dr. R. Gopal to kindly address the participants.
In the first place, good morning to all the people who are there. Good evening to some people from India. Good day to people all over the globe. I want to start off, from where Dr. Vani Kamath and Dr. Sapna were supposed to start. They were to talk about the School of Management and the university. So very briefly, let me talk about the School of Management and the university, and my sincerest apologies because the slides are not available due to certain technical difficulties. The D.Y. Patil group has been started by Dr. D.Y. Patil, who is a former governor of Tripura, Bihar, and Kolkata, and he is the founder chancellor. Dr. Vijay Patil is the president of the D.Y. Patil University, and Dr. Ajinkya D.Y. Patil is also the president of the D.Y. Patil University and is also the president of the Ajinkya D.Y. Patil University and is a pro-chancellor here. It is located in Navi Mumbai and it has been NAC accredited, and it's among the top 10% of the university all over India. The D.Y. Patil University is managed by Dr. Sirish Patil, who is the Honorable Vice Chancellor and the former Dean of D.Y. Patil Hospital. We have various schools out here, like the Medicine, School of Medicine, School of Dentistry, School of Ayurveda, etc. We have our own community radio station, D.Y. Patil Community Radio Gyanvani at 90.4 FM. A huge auditorium which can accommodate about 1,000 people at a time. The School of Management is located at CBD Belapur, Navi Mumbai, and the vision is always to become the first among equals in the service of humanity through education. The School of Management has been recognized and has been awarded several recognitions. It has been ranked 81 out of the more than 4,000 B schools in India. Several of our faculties have been awarded the best prize in innovation, the best teacher in management education. Midday has given us the award of excellence in education. We have an excellent teaching staff, all of whom are PhDs and with more than 5 to 7 years of experience. A very, very cooperative non-teaching staff. And we offer several courses, notably among them are the BBA, MBA, and the PhD program. The BBA program is basically marketing, finance, international business, banking and insurance, and hospital administration. While the MBA program is divided into two parts, one is a core program, and the other is called the sectoral program. The core program involves marketing, finance, human resources management, operation systems, entrepreneurship, and sports business management. The sectoral program are the niche programs which are industry oriented, like the IB business management program, retail management, health and hospital management, pharma, biotech, banking and insurance, logistics, and aviation management. These programs are essentially niche programs and where the number of students is very, very much limited. We have a state of infrastructure of 80,000 square feet, which is a Wi-Fi one, an excellent library, an IT laboratory with more than 300 computers, well-equipped classrooms, all of them are AC'd and Wi-Fi. We conduct basically three types of workshops. One is business etiquette, one is personality development, and one is dining etiquettes. In addition to this, we conduct several workshops on resume writing, personality development, and also workshops which are technical or oriented, like the big data analytics workshop that we had, a research methodology workshop that we had, career talks that we have, etc., etc. We also have a very interesting case study competition and an interdisciplinary case study, which runs for about a week, where we consider a large number of industry case studies, which gives the student a very good idea about how to take decisions. The latest conference that we had was the IB conference, which was Make for India Global. More than 1,000 students participated in this. We have domestic as well as international IB or international visits, notably to places like London, Singapore, Hong Kong, etc. One-day domestic industrial visits are also had. We do have a lot of student and faculty exchange programs with many universities located all over the world. For example, with the University of South Carolina, Assumption University, University of East London, etc. A large number of publications have been done by the college. I think there are more than about 7 or 8 publications which are there. We do conduct a lot of social programs, essentially so that students get an idea and understand the very nature of the social aspects of our society. Additionally, we also have cultural programs like the Paramount and the sports activity like the Colosseum. We have a very strong alumni association with more than 2,000 people, 2,000 alumni registered out there. More than 250 companies visit our college to provide placement. And I can only tell you that even during this pandemic, 2020, almost 100% of the students got placements. 2021, about 70 to 75% students have got placements with a maximum salary or the highest salary of 9 lakhs per annum. The lowest salary has been about 4.5 lakhs, and the median has been somewhere around 6.5 to 7 lakhs per annum. Unfortunately, I cannot show you the list of recruiters, but you can understand when I say 250 corporates visit our institute to provide placement, that means there must be a large number of students, large number of corporates who are coming out here. Yeah. With these few words, I would like to thank all of you all for patient listening. And as Vani and Sapna have said, admissions are open for both the BBA as well as the MBA program. Thank you very much. Now coming to the main program or the main talk, which is on post-COVID-19 skill requirements for a successful career and life. Once again, guys, good morning, good day, good evening, depending where you are. And before I introduce the subject, I want to request all my panel members, my friends and colleagues who are viewing this program to please get themselves vaccinated when your turn comes. This is essential because we need to beat the probable havoc that can be caused by COVID wave 3. As you are aware, wave 2 has created a big hit on the Indian industries with recession going down, GDP falling to about minus 7.3%, and FY 2022, the World Bank and other organizations have predicted that the GDP would grow by about 8%. It looks like we might be able to reach the GDP, though the unemployment figures are not so good. It's bad. The unemployment index is around 12% at this point of time. It is estimated by December 2021, around 216 crore vaccines would be available, which would be sufficient to target about 90% of the target groups. Already so far, about 40 to 45 crore vaccinations have been given to the targeted group. Last year in April 20, we started a new webinar series called as the Knowledge Series. The objective of this was essentially to do what we higher education institutions do, and that is to spread knowledge. And to this end, we had talked about almost 45 webinars were conducted last year on various topics. I had given you a very brief information about the University and the School of Management. But I want to talk to you a little bit more, especially because that is more relevant to the topic of the day, which is namely skills required for a good career and a good life. And the skills that you require are divided into two parts. One is the hard skills, which is related to the technical knowledge that we have. And the other is the soft skills, which is related to the holistic development of yourself. Now, on the hard skills, I want to mention out here that we have modified our entire syllabus so as to include Industry 4.0 subjects. And what are they? Data analytics, digital marketing, AI, etc. One of the main things which I found out while I was talking to large number of students in India, and that was that the lectures are boring, sir. And I want to inform and tell all of you guys who are watching that in DYPUism, it's a culture that we have. We make the lectures interesting and fun-loving. And how do we do that? We do that through various teaching techniques where we encourage you to ask questions, to be inquisitive. We talk to you about problem-solving techniques, analytical studies. The pandemic has created a lot of havoc. Emotional stability has taken a hit. And therefore, we have initiated counselors who counsel the students to ensure that emotional stability is maintained, even during the pandemic and before the pandemic, and we will do it, even post-pandemic, with the objective of helping the students to study wherever they are and whenever they are. Because you remember, children, just 3 minutes before I could come in, there was a massive electrical drop, and my internet dropped. And right now I'm operating on my cellular phone through the hotspot. And this is the case not only today in a city like Bombay, mainly because of the rains, but imagine if a student is somewhere in Tier 2 or Tier 3. And therefore, For the last 5 years, we've been having a system called as the learning management system, where all the lectures are updated, uploaded on this LMS system. Evaluation takes place on that. And you have the advantage of reading and learning wherever you are, whenever you have, and whenever you get the internet, so that you do not suffer. We have tied up, agreements with several organizations like the World Trade Center, Indian Merchant Chambers, Global Exports, MSME Chamber of Commerce, MSME Chamber of Industry, Agriculture, Global TV, etc. Why have we done all of this? We have done all of this mainly because there is a need to bring in industry-institute interaction. And what do I mean by that? A lot of industry people have been telling me that students are unemployable. What do I mean by unemployable? They do not have any idea about what's happening in the industry. And therefore, by tying up with all these MOU, with all these organizations, we have been able to bring in students. We have been able to bring in people from industry to guide the students, explain what's happening in the industry through a series of guest lectures, through a series of guest lectures, through a series of case studies, etc., so that the student becomes industry fit. And this has helped us in achieving our placements. Our objective has always been, as I said, and my own personal objective has been that every student of mine must be a successful student. And to that extent, we have taken a lot of many actions. And one of the actions that we took is we continued the knowledge series of 2020 into the leadership series of 2021. And under that, we have conducted more than 13 webinars till date. Some of them being, the stock market is booming. So you should know how to invest in stocks. You should know when to get out of the stock market, when to enter the stock market. And therefore, we had a session on stock market. You generate wealth, but you must know how to pay your tax also. You cannot avoid taxes, and therefore wealth management and tax planning become an important arena. My whole theme has been that you should not only make for India, make for Bharat, but go global. And therefore we said, what are the opportunities that are available in the different sectors? And one of the sectors we took is the pharma sector. Finding happiness is another very important thing. Stress levels have increased drastically. Can you imagine? After almost 25 years of living together, celebrites today are having a divorce. And why is it so? Because at this age, they're saying, we are not finding happiness among the partners. Let's find out how you can be happy. And therefore, we had a seminar on being happy. Skills are very important, soft skills and hard skills. Therefore, we did content, supply chain, banking and insurance, other industries, etc., etc. As I told you, corporates are saying that our students are unemployable. I must here immediately say that students of D.Y. Patil University School of Management have got 100% placement, but this is the general trend. And therefore, we have today's session where we are talking about what are the skills that are required to be a success in your career, to be a success in life. I can talk gentlemen, I can talk ladies, on all these topics for hours together. But I said, no. There are experts on this field. And we today have a global experts. We have Dr. Surendra Kumar from Jakarta, Sid Sarkar from Malaysia, Sunil Shastri from London. And remember, these are the three places where our Indians are going in big numbers. And we have our local, our own, what shall we say, alumni, who is one of the leading lights, Mr. Anirban Hazara. And all these four gentlemen today are going to talk to us on the skills that are there, the skills that you require. And therefore, let me take this opportunity to welcome all of you all and all the people who are watching us on YouTube, on Facebook, Global TV, etc. I understand from my colleagues that more than 700 registrations have come in. And children and people who are watching this, please put your questions on the YouTube, on the chat box, so that I ask those questions. And I assure you, we will definitely ask all the questions that you have, because for me, this is a very, very important topic. Many of our stakeholders have been saying that they want to view our webinars whenever they feel that, whenever they get the time. And therefore, we've created our own YouTube channel, which is DYP USM Webinars. On typing DYP USM Webinars on the YouTube, you will immediately see DYP USM Webinars block coming up. Scroll down, click on that, and you will be directed to a home page. Click on the video that you want to see, and you can then see it at your leisure. And after you do that, my request to all of you all is, please like, share, and subscribe the videos. There is no cost involved in subscription, but when you subscribe, I understand, and I get an idea about the profile of all the viewers who are there. And this helps us make further webinars a much better, much better than what we've been doing in the past. With these few words, thank you very much, and God bless all of you all. And guys, don't forget to vaccinate, vaccinate, and vaccinate. Thank you, and God bless you. Sapna, all yours now.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, Vani.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. I would like to apologize to everyone for the technical issues which we had faced in the initial stages. And Dr. Gopal has very well introduced our university and also our institute. And for that, thank you so much, sir. On behalf of D.Y. Patil University School of Management, I welcome you all for the webinar on skills required post-COVID. This is a webinar which is very important for all the students who want to go for employment in the near future, and the skills which they should already have in them before they enter the corporate world. So that is the reason why we have arranged this webinar, and I hope with the expertise which our speakers are going to share with you all, this webinar is going to be very useful to all the youth of the country, and especially for the students who are the part of this show, who are the part of this webinar. I think they are going to gain a lot of knowledge, knowledge through this webinar. So I sincerely welcome you all on behalf of D.Y. Patil University School of Management. With this, I would like to introduce our moderator for today's webinar, Dr. Sapna Suri. Dr. Sapna Suri is the Associate Professor at our university, and she is the Associate Professor of D.Y. Patil University School of Management. She is also the Course Coordinator and Faculty of Human Resources at D.Y. Patil deemed to be University School of Management. She has done MMS in HR from Mumbai University.
She is also a PhD in HR from DY Patil deemed to be University. She has 15 years of teaching experience and 1 year of corporate experience. She has presented more than 15 papers in national and international conferences and published 35 research papers in national, international, as well as Scopus Index journals. She was invited as a member of the review committee for the research conference in the area of information technology at KG Somaya Institute of Management Studies and Research in 2019. She is a PhD guide with DY Patil deemed to be University. She is a hardworking, dedicated, and passionate professor, and she likes to teach, and that is her passion. So with this, I would like to invite and I would like to welcome Dr. Sapna Suri, and I request her to take it ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Vani, for such a nice introduction of mine. Now, as you know, the theme says COVID-19 skills required for successful career and life. So, many skills are there which are needed for the person to get into the industry. Like we have soft skills, we have hard skills which are needed so that they can be updated with that. And it's already there that when they study something, they already learn from the concepts which they are doing, whether it's a bachelor degree or a master degree. But there are few things which are an add-on to things. Like as we know that this pandemic has brought lot many changes, especially in the working pattern where we all are doing work from home. So there are certain things which are expected from the industry as well, where we need to upgrade, update ourselves. And talking about the soft skill corner, where you have to be versatile in the personal front, we need to have interpersonal skill. We need to be empathy, empathetic towards our member. We need to have a teamwork spirit. We need to have a good communication. We should be the initiator. We should have a leadership skills inbuilt in us. So many things. If we call upon the technical skills, then we need to have an expertise over the technical things, which are certification courses which can be done, and lot many things. So to have a lot much things which are needed, and has to be included, what has to be imbibed, what things have to be updated, upgraded. We have called our eminent speakers for the day today, and who will be discussing more in depth about it, which are industry experts. We have Mr. Sunil sir, who will be talking about many things. We have Sid Sarkar sir, even he is from the industry. Dr. Surendra sir, also an expert. We have our own alumni, Mr. Anirban, who will also be talking about the things which he has experienced as a student as part of DYPUSM, what new things he thinks can be learned from the students, and what was his experience as a student, which he felt when he was associated with, he's still associated with DY Patil University School of Management. And also, as you know, that now when these things which are newly coming up, we ourselves in our university have many courses which we tell the students to undertake, like we have digital marketing, we have artificial intelligence, which is newly in demand, in business analytics, which is again very much essential to be known to the students. So these all things which I think are very much essential. So not taking much of the time, I would welcome all the speakers for the day. Uh, I would just begin with the question answer session. I would like to first introduce the guest, and then we'll get into the panel discussion which is there. I would now like to introduce to you Mr. Sid Sarkar. Mr. Sid Sarkar is a consultant in oil and gas industry. He is an advisor and senior project manager in the oil and gas industry with a well-renowned experience with worldwide oil and gas capital projects. His career experience spans across all oil companies, Premier Oil in UK and ConocoPhillips in US, and contractors been Betel and Earl and Brett in US. He has lived and worked in 11 countries in North and Central America, Europe, Asia, and Australia, and had leadership roles in numerous landmark oil and gas projects. Mr. Sid has graduated from IIT Kharagpur in 1976 in naval architecture and was a resident of Azad Hall. He completed his master's degree from Massachusetts Institute of Technology in Ocean Engineering. He has published numerous technical papers and have chaired and moderated panel discussions in international oil and gas conferences. He is also a US citizen and currently lives in Malaysia. I welcome you, Sid Sarkar, sir. I would request now Mr. Sid Sarkar, sir, to kindly address the participants.
Thank you, Dr. Sapna, for the introduction. And I would like to thank Dr. Gopal, Dr. Vani, and Dr. Sapnat for inviting me to this webinar. I really appreciate it, and I'm very thankful that I had the opportunity to help out. Now, for the people who are attending, the audience, the participants, I understand you have given us 2 hours of your time, a valuable time. So we have to make sure that we add value. So I'm sure all of us speakers, the 4 of us, will go out of our way to make sure that you get something out of this webinar that would be useful to you, not just immediately, but in the long-term future. One of the assumptions I'll make to state my point of view is that the reason you're attending this webinar and the reason some of you would want to go overseas or work in India is because you want to raise the standard of your life and you want to improve the quality of your life. So that's why you're doing all this. So I'll make an assumption there. Let me start with a simple question. You know, when I was raised as a kid, I think most people in India are raised like that. There's this thing called Sanatan Dharma. And we were raised with that we need to believe in it, we need to follow it. And a couple of little details of that concept is you should lead an honest life, you should never harm anyone, you should lead a simple life. Now, the simple question is, if you lead a lifestyle like that, do you think you can ever become rich and famous? I think most of you, if I ask you honestly to answer the question, you will probably say, nope, I can never become rich and famous if I follow the Sanatan Dharma. Now, I'll come back to this a little bit later. Just a question for you to think about, because we're talking about how to be successful. And I think it was Dr. Vani who mentioned that one of the goals of Dr. Gopal is to make sure every student is successful in life, in their profession and in life. And, you know, a lot of people I've noticed, they think to be successful is like a choice. In other words, you can choose not to be successful. I see it in a very different way. To me, to be successful is a duty. It's an obligation. It's something you must do. Any species, if you look at in the history of this planet Earth, any species that failed to continue to be successful became extinct. So for our own survival, for your own survival, you have to aim for a successful life. Now, in general, I mean, you can then debate and argue, okay, who is successful and who is not. But relatively speaking, you have to always try very hard to be successful all the time. It doesn't matter what you do. So I think you have to take it as a given that I want to be successful, no matter what you do. So with that as a background, again, I will, you know, most of my life has been overseas, not in India. So I know a lot about corporate life in the US and corporate life in Singapore. I've spent a lot of time in both of these countries. So if you have questions about these 2 countries, please raise them so that we can address them as this webinar progresses. You know, what's interesting is if I focus on the students who aspire to go overseas and live there, study or work and just live there, one thing I don't know if you realize that 85% of all the students that go overseas from India, they go to 5 countries. 85% go to these 5 countries: the US, Canada, UK, Australia, and New Zealand. And there's something common about these 5 countries, why they picked these 5. And the common thread is these are all English-speaking countries. So the reason why it makes sense is if you go to another country, you have to learn the language of that country if you want to study or work there. So that's why this, you see this trend. At the same time, I would, you know, remind you that there are other countries non-English speaking that could be better suited for you, because there are countries where an MBA program is completely free. I'll give you 2 examples. One is Germany and one is Norway. If you study your MBA there, the tuition is free. If you try to study in the US or Singapore, it's going to cost you a lot of money. So you must also think about the non-English speaking countries if you're thinking about going overseas. So let me raise a few things which I've seen over my career, and I've looked at a lot of people, my colleagues, my subordinates, my superiors, and I see a pattern of people who are very successful, not just successful. And then we said that everyone needs to be successful, but those who are very successful. So if I look at them, I see a common trait. So I'm going to mention those common traits so you can connect the dots and say, okay, these are the things that will give me an edge in your life. So the first one is, I call it a minority hurdle. The hurdle race, we have to overcome obstacles. So minority hurdle is, if you choose to go outside India and live in another country, you will be a minority in that country. There is no way around it. So what happens to you when you go to a country as a minority? It's like, I'll give you a simple example about participating in a game, let's say football. You go to play football and you find everyone on the team is twice as big as you and are very skilled. So you look at that and you will say, this is not fair. I have a huge disadvantage. So you have two choices at that time. One is to say, I'm not doing this because I will fail. I don't like failing, so I'm not going to participate in the game, and you walk away. So that's one choice. The other choice is to say, I will participate and I will win. So what do I need to do to overcome these hurdles? And you will find out that you will be learning how to run much faster than the others, the big ones. You will develop skills, and pretty soon you will be able to play that game in a competitive way, even though you have that minority hurdle. And I'll bring this back a little bit later, where this minority hurdle actually becomes an advantage. I'll explain it a little bit later. The second thing I find, a common thread amongst very successful people, is that they choose to go down a path less traveled. They don't go down a path that is well traveled. They deliberately pick the one that looks like scary, where you think you might fail, but they still choose that path. So I would highly recommend that you always try to choose the path less traveled. It's a scary path, but believe me, when you finish the journey and you look back, you will say, wow, that was a great ride. So always remember this. Whenever you're given the opportunity in your working life, raise your hand and volunteer to pick the path or project that looks like less traveled road. The third one, I've noticed that people who are very successful, they're all typically very likable people. So what's a likable person? First thing is, you will know someone's likable. I'm sure you've met some people, when you meet them, immediately you like them. There are certain things about people you like immediately. I call them likable people. They have a huge advantage in being successful just by being likable. So there are three things that I find that are common in people who are likable. One is they come across as very sincere. Second is they're very open and honest and very, very transparent. Open book. They don't tell lies. They don't play games. They won't hide anything. They'll upfront tell you if you ask them a question. And the third one I've noticed, they have an amazing skill to understand other people. They don't expect you to understand them. They are always trying very hard to understand other people. So these are likable people. So those who are likable, for some people it's very easy to be likable because it's in their nature. For others, you may have to learn that skill, but it makes a big difference to be likable. Also, in your career, you'll come across lots of battles. It's important that you pick and choose the battles you will fight. You don't go after every battle because you might win a battle, but you may lose the war. So you have to pick and choose your battles. And never be afraid to fail, because sometimes you will win and sometimes you will learn. We have all failed in life. I have failed many times. And I'm not scared about failing. I know that if I fail, I will learn a lot. I will grow a lot. When I'm having a good time, everything works out fine. I don't learn much and I don't grow much. So every time I fail, that's when I've learned the most. So it's very important that you're never afraid to fail. So never reject an offer of a project because you're scared you will fail. And I'm going to bring in an elephant into the room now because I think it is, I heard Dr. Gopal touched on it briefly, but I want to spend a few minutes talking about it because this is so crucial for success, especially in the Western countries. And I think in India also. And that is society rewards people who are extroverted. Society does not reward people who are introverted. I am myself by nature introverted. So I learned this much, much later in my life because, you know, in our days when we were your age, we didn't have these opportunity of webinars or Google, nothing, we didn't have anything. So we had to self-learn or not learn. And unfortunately, the fact that society rewards extroverts, I discovered this much, much later in my life. So I couldn't really use it. So those of you who are listening, if you are introverted by nature, please remember that in a business environment, in a business meeting, every business meeting, in an interview, you have to display extroverted behavior, which means in a business meeting, you have to ask lots of questions, you have to engage with the presenter, you have to debate with the presenter, and same thing in the interview. You have to study that company in great detail so that during the interview, you can be very engaging. You can ask lots of questions, you can raise issues. So that is extroverted behavior. It's very, very important. I don't know how more to stress this, but you must display extroverted behavior in a business environment. Now in the evening when you go home, you can be in your own comfort zone, be yourself, and that's absolutely fine with your family. But in a business environment, it is very crucial that even though you're not extroverted, but you must display extroverted behavior because society and business will reward you for that. You know, I've heard the saying, I'm sure you may have noticed that extroverted people seem to be very happy, very dynamic, charismatic, and always look happy. And I think the reason is because they know from experience that they live in a world where that behavior will be rewarded. So they will be rewarded. They know this from experience. So please remember this. I will bring back now Sanatan Dharma. So let's say you've become very successful. You're making a lot of money. You're getting promoted every couple of years, and you suddenly think you can touch the sky. And that's when Sanatan Dharma kicks in. You have to remain grounded to your values. And those are never harm anyone to get a promotion, never tell lies to get ahead of the others. So you have to maintain those values even while you are being very successful. They go hand in hand. You cannot decouple one from the other. If you do, your success will be very short-lived. It'll be a short-term journey for you. If you want success to be sustained over a long period of time, utilize or remain grounded to your values. Remember the Sanatan Dharma, those are the values that will keep you grounded. Now, one more thing I'll mention before I hand it back to Dr. Sapna is when we are pushing ourselves to be successful, we are very happy with what we have achieved. We are only focused and fixated on achievements. But if you do that, if you only think about your achievements, what's going to happen is when it's time for you to pass on to the other side, you will look back and you will say, you know, I want people to remember me in a particular way. But the way I have behaved, they may remember me in a different way. So please remember that what is also important while you're having achievements is how you want to be remembered. And that will help you to remain grounded to your values. So I think I'll just stop here and hand it back to you, Dr. Sapna. We can discuss it later during panel discussion.
Thank you so much, sir, for your inputs on skills required. I would now introduce to you Mr. Sunil Shastri. Mr. Sunil Shastri is a consultant, expert, and a speaker in ocean and environmental governance. He's found his passion for PASM in Melbourne in 1982 under the title of Elizabeth Man Boggers, and has since made his mission. He is known for his masterclass and cognitive analysis. In the past, Sunil has attended the Indian Institute of Technology, Kharagpur, International Ocean Institute, RWTH Asian and University, Dalhousie University, London School of Business, and Harvard, and many more. During a career spanning over 4 decades, Sunil has been a university academic consultant and a researcher in marine and environmental policy and in mining and ocean engineering. He has served on several professional and public bodies as director, governor, or trustee, and is a Rotary Paul Harris Fellow. Mr. Sunil was born in India in 1955 and has lived in UK since 1988. I welcome you, Mr. Sunil, sir. I would request Mr. Sunil, sir, to kindly address the participants.
Thank you, Sapna. Thank you, Vani, and thank you, my good friend, Dr. Gopal, for having me here today. First of all, I want to begin by echoing the sentiments of my good friend, Professor Dr. Gopal. Let me reiterate this. I cannot say it more often. Any vaccination is better than no vaccination, and the best vaccination is the one you get given. I tell that all the time to people. So one of the most important things, and I think Sid has touched on some of these things, and I'm going to reiterate some of the things that he has said because I like what he said. So it always comes to my mind that giving is one of the most important things you can do. And having spent all my life practically in academic circles, what I am best at giving is knowledge or education. And this is such a fantastic gift because it grows on giving. As Gopal has mentioned earlier, that when you ask questions, it makes him think. Similarly, when I'm teaching subsequent batches of students, I don't call them even students, I call them my teachers because I learn more from them because there's only one of me at one time and there's several hundred of them at any given time. And every time they ask me a question, I go back to the library, I go back to the internet, I go back to the journals, and I try to learn something new. And that's how I develop my own knowledge, and that's the knowledge I give back. And it's the knowledge that keeps growing because it's a unique gift in that sense. So continuing that thread of giving, I always think that when you become rich or when you become famous, as you all want to be, and we all want to be rich and famous, but the key thing to do is don't raise your standard of living, but raise your standard of giving. I think that's a crucial thing about this whole idea of giving things. The other thing that comes to my mind is you have to have a balanced sort of way of thinking. What can I change in the world? So the strength to change the things that you can change. So that's what you should be striving for, to achieve that strength, to achieve that goal with the strength that you have, to change what you can. But at the same time, you must have the serenity. You must have the peace of mind to live with things that you cannot change. There are some things that you just cannot change or you don't have the strength to change it. So have the serenity, have the peace of mind to live with those. But most importantly of the two, so you have the strength to change what you want to change. You have the serenity to live with what you cannot change. The most important thing is the wisdom to distinguish between the two. So what is it that you can change and what is it that you have to live with? So in the same vein, I want to continue by saying that in these coming years, we find somebody that you will be inspired by. Get get somebody who really you find very trustworthy, very impressive, very knowledgeable, very wise. Let's put it that way. So find somebody to get inspired by. And when your time comes in the future, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years from now, make sure that you have time to inspire others. Give your time generously. I think that is very important. People will respect and appreciate you and trust you for it. The more you are able to inspire people, people will appreciate you, people will respect you, and people will trust you. So that is what is the art. Appreciate, respect, and trust. And that's the art you have to develop. You have to remember that you will be always valued. What are you valued for? You are valued more for the power of your example than the example of your power. Being rich and powerful is not going to impress people. What are you going to do with your richness? What are you going to do with your power? That is what will impress people. So kindness and generosity are the two main virtues that you must cultivate. You must be kind and you must be generous. Because we always say that if the meaning of life is to find your gift, the purpose of life must be to give it away. So whatever is your gift, I think my gift is education, talking. And that is what I must give away. And then, we all talk about success. Sid was talking about success, but I want to talk a little bit about failure. And he's mentioned that also. So when I talk about failure, I'm not saying that individual failure. It may be failure to convey what you are trying to achieve. It may be failure of others to understand you. It may be the failure of the system itself. Or it's a failure simply because yours is an idea whose time has not come. So don't let it get you for too long. Homer Simpson, the famous, cartoon character, he says, don't blame yourself too much. Just blame yourself once and move on. Move on to something new. So forget about failure, move on to something new where you can succeed. The second F word, so I'm talking about a couple of F words. The second F word is fraternity. It's very important to be close, and this COVID has actually taught you that nothing matters. Your politics doesn't matter, your political leaders don't matter. What matters is your family, friends, and near and dear ones, because they are the ones who will stand by you through good and bad. So they are your best punching bags. Cultivate them well. No matter what, they won't abandon you. You will need them. You will need them when you are in difficult times, when you are in COVID times, when you are in difficult times in your careers. You will need them. And the third F word, so failure, fraternity, and the third one is funambulist. So you have to be like a tightrope walker. Funambulist is a tightrope walker. And you have to balance. Balance is extremely important in life. Life is like an egg and spoon race. You have to run the race and complete the race, but you can't let the egg drop. So that's what it is. So in life, we have two goals, life and living. You have to continue with your life, but you have to also live your life. Sometimes life gets in the way of living and vice versa. The first goal is survival and the other goal is success. Whatever you look at it, you have to survive to succeed and you have to succeed to survive. So all those things are very important. So I would say, we have to think big and we have to also dream a lot. Dreaming is very important in life because people who don't dream are not able to achieve things. They say that utopians of today are realists of tomorrow. Realists of today are dead tomorrow. And that's what is very important. So we have to dream and we have to work hard to achieve. It's not just important. Dreaming alone is not useful. Dreaming is very important, but you must dream and you must work hard to achieve those dreams. So in view of particularly of this topic today, three quite disparate areas come to my mind, and I'll outline these three areas and let you think about it. And then I'll stop my initial introduction. So three different areas that come to my mind. The first one is remote working. So this is what we are doing. What we are doing today through this webinar is remote working. It's not remote working for yourself, sitting at home and doing it, but this is in all aspects of business, commerce, and industry. All of these have to run remotely now. The world is changing quite drastically. And over the last 1.5, 2 years, it has changed absolutely drastically, ever more than in all my lifetime. So the change is very quick, and the change, we have to adapt to the change. So primary industries, secondary industries, tertiary industries, what we call as agriculture, mining as primary, or manufacturing as secondary, or marketing and distribution and service industry as tertiary industry, they all have to change. We have to focus, as Dr. Gopal was mentioning earlier, focus on Industry 4.0, because that is what is the future for the generations of students to come, like yourselves. The second point, the second idea that comes to my mind is demography. All our populations are getting older. India currently is lucky that we have a very young population. In fact, I'm told that 65% of India's population is under the age of 35. In fact, some experts say that one of the reasons that India was not hit by COVID so badly is because of the lack of the older population. In the UK, 6% of people are over 80 years old. In India, only 6 or 8% of the people are over 65 years old. So there's a lot of difference in the demography there. And demography is very important. But the fact of the matter is the population is getting older. Think of careers to support older people. I think those are very important, because people are getting older, but at the same time, older people are fitter. If you see 2 generations before you, your grandparents, by the time they came to the age of 60, 65, they were old and haggard, mostly. I'm not saying everybody. But look, I am 65 now, and I'm as fine as anybody else. So they'll be older and fitter. So how to find ways to keep them engaged? That's the career. How to find career options that keep the elderly engaged, elderly and the fit people engaged. And at an even older stage, they will need care. So care of the elderly is another very important area, in my view. So that is the second point. Remote working, first point. Second point, demography. And because I'm an environmentalist, the third point is about the environment. And I want to talk to you, and this is very important. This is the most important, if anything else. More than anything else, this is the most important thing, because these are existential issues. The environmental issues are existential issues. We talk of COVID-19 as a big problem of our time, but that is but a blip. It is but a blip compared to climate change. Climate change is a much bigger problem, much bigger existential issue for humankind, because unless we survive, we cannot succeed until we survive. So these are problems of survival. So climate change is a big issue, even bigger than climate change. And people don't think there are bigger issues than climate change, but even bigger than climate change is the problem of disruption of nitrogen cycle. Disruption of nitrogen cycle because of use of pesticides and chemicals. So that's a bigger problem than climate change. And an even bigger problem is the loss of biological diversity. Loss of biological diversity in terms of loss of insects, loss of mammals, loss of everything. In fact, you'll be surprised to know that 96% of all mammals are either human beings. So nearly 60% of all mammals on the earth today are what you call as farmed animals, farmed animals. 36% by weight are human beings, and only 4% or 6% are wild mammals. So that shows you how the mammals are depleted. We are also increasingly living in what we call as a lawless society. And when I say lawless, in terms of law also, but also in terms of landless, airless, and waterless. Our land is becoming less productive, our air is becoming less breathable, and our water is becoming less drinkable. So these are some of the existential issues that we have. And our careers have to be focused on addressing these existential issues of climate change, of disruption of nitrogen cycle, of loss of biological diversity. Net zero, reduction of waste, net zero reduction of waste, net zero carbon. All those things are going to be our future career objectives. So our narrative has to change. Our narrative has to change. Our narrative, the callous narrative or the careless narrative that we had so far was that the planet is too big to fail. That's what we said. Our planet, nothing will go wrong with it. That's what people in my generation or the generation before that said. That's why we were careless about utilizing the resources of the planet. The second narrative that has come more recently, and it says the planet is too big to fix, So now the damage is done and there's nothing I can do about it. I throw my hands up in the air and I say, sorry, the damage is already done. There's nothing we can do about it. That's called the fatalist or the defeatist narrative. But the third narrative, which is the correct narrative, and which is the narrative of people like me, the environmentalists of this generation and the next generation, is that the planet is too big to ignore. And it is our only planet. And if we ignore it at our own peril. This whole idea of going to space, a few billionaires going to space might impress some people, but that's not the important thing. We have to protect what we have here and now. We don't have a planet B. Just as we don't have a plan B, life is the only plan we have. There's no other plan. Similarly, there is only one planet, the planet A, and that is the planet Earth, and there is no planet B. So we have to remember this. And at this point, let me stop saying my little, my thoughts and move on to the next part. Thank you, Sapna. Thank you, Vani. Thank you, Dr. Gopal.
Thank you, Sunil, sir, for your valuable thoughts. I would now like to introduce to you Dr. Surendra Kumar. Dr. Surendra Kumar is an academician, internationally experienced maritime trainer, accredited management teacher. He is a founding director and the current vice president of Maritime Trainers Guild India. He is a chartered engineer UK and chartered marine engineer UK, chartered marine technologist. He is currently based in Jakarta, Indonesia, set up and got the requisite UK approvals for specialized maritime operations training for a local training center. He has done fellow from Institute of Marine Engineering, Science and Technology, London. Also a fellow from the Nautical Institute, London. Fellow from International Association of DP Operations, London. He has received many awards and recognition. The Best Trainer of Offshore Course in 2018. Approved DP Trainer from Nautical Institute, London. Approved Faculty and Assessor of High Voltage Training by the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency, UK. He is also visiting faculty to many B schools. He is also a trainer teaching related courses training for Toyota course DG Shipping, Train the Trainer DNV, and other many more. I welcome you, Dr. Surendra Kumar. I would request Dr. Surendra Kumar to kindly address the participants.
Thank you, Dr. Sapna. Thank you, Dr. Vani. Thank you, Dr. Gopal sir. On this auspicious occasion of Guru Purnima, first of all, let me take this opportunity to convey my sincere regards to all the gurus present here. And with that, I would like to give a very basic advice to the students over here, that if we need to be successful, we need to find a guru. And it's not necessary the guru has to be a teacher. The guru could be well in your family. It could be your sibling. It could be your friends. It could be your elders. So just do that. Find a guru to be successful, and I'm sure you will be one. So with those words, let me take straight on to what I would like to talk about, the topic, which is a topic for today, that the skills required for successful career and life post-COVID-19 era. Well, I'm a very hopeful person. I'm very positive thinking about the outcome of this, and the feeling takes me very straight to the point that we will be successful. Hum honge kamyab. And I'm sure you are looking at the market with very, very careful ears and eyes. And you must be following what has happened in the past few weeks. I'm sure some of you must have invested, and you must be following what happened to Zomato shares, which recently crossed over 1 lakh crore subscriptions. You must be following also the buoyant Ola investment plans, and they are going to bring out the largest number of e-scooters in the world. You also have followed about Samsung shifting its display manufacturing business fully from China to India. These all things will definitely keep you thinking, and will make you confident that yes, many things are happening and many good things are happening. So this tiring time, this very stressful time will be over soon, and we will be catapulted into an era post-COVID, and I'm sure that that's going to bring us, the moment we get ushered into this new era, I think is going to bring us lots of opportunities, but then we must be ready for that. to be ready for those, we need to train, retrain, and we need to learn those skills which are needed. It's not that we may not have those skills. Definitely we may have, but we may have to sharpen those skills, as the eminent speakers here already pointed out, and I'm not going to repeat those, but definitely I would like to say here that we have to live to learn and learn to live. And all those things go hand in hand. And with only thing I would like to add here is that keep learning. That is what is the motive of life, that yes, we have to keep learning always. To do so, we need to analyze, and we need to keep looking at the sectors which are poised for a big, you can say, jump, post-COVID growth. To me, is my own observation. Uh, to me, as a member of the society and as a member of the society we are living in, and also the industry, I would like to look at a few of the sectors. And frankly speaking, I would like to give number one to the education technology sector. EdTech is going to improve and is going to go leaps and bounds in the growth factor. The next one I would give is the health and wellness sector. Also, as Sunil sir pointed out, the remote working or work from home, all those things also will be a sector which will be growing beyond our imagination. It is already grown, what we have seen it in the last 1 year or so. E-commerce and delivery-based services is another sector which needs to be really watched with very careful eyes. The other sector which you should be watching is the entertainment sector, and especially so the OTT platform, which some of you must be hooked to it because of the plenty of time available to you of late. The other sector to watch will be pharma life science sector, along with pathology. And also interesting to note is very soon you'll have big numbers coming in as medical tourism. So all those sectors are something to watch about. And of course, what I wanted to tell you about this work, it is also to be added along with managed or shared work areas. This concept has recently been active into India, but I'm sure there is a big probability that this sector will also grow, something which probably we're not expecting. To look at these sectors and to be ready to work there, we need to have certain skills which the eminent speakers have already given you a good guidance. But I would be very straightforward looking at some of those skills, which will include, of course, the hard skill and the soft skill. But I have put it in a little bit different way just to make it easy for you. And the first and the number one, I would like to talk about we must be prepared, and we must be not just prepared, we must be experienced by then to work in a fully digital environment. I would like to give an example here, a recent example with one of my colleague and eminent speaker, Mr. Aniban will be might be covering that when he is also from a similar industry. You must have heard about McKinsey. McKinsey recently carried out a survey, and the survey pointed out that 85% plus of the existing sectors are investing heavily into digitalization, and it's a complete digitalization. If 85% of the companies or the industry sectors are going for a complete digitalization, you know what lies ahead of you. So guys, be ready for this revolution, be part of this revolution. And to be so, you need to be first fully reliant onto yourself, that you fully become digital environment that you can operate in. So this is the first thing I would like to ask you to be looking around. If you have some courses around, join them. If you have something to learn about, just jump into it and keep learning. So that is what I would like to say, the first one. The second one I would like to hear is sharpen your cognitive skills. Now, it's not that we all have cognitive skills. We all have our way of doing things. We are wired like that. And we can't change the way we are wired, but definitely we can sharpen those skills. So I would say these skills, whatever you have a problem solving skill, you have the creativity or the innovation, these all need to be sharpened in this era when we're just waiting for things to happen good. And as soon as the pandemic is over, you will be catapulted into a situation that these skills are going to help you a lot. So I would like to repeat that again, sharpen your cognitive skills. Now, what it takes, how it happens, you be in touch with your faculty And I'm sure the university is going to organize some more seminars and webinars like this, and hope we have a real life seminar very soon once the COVID situation is a little better. So all those things will definitely help you to improvise your cognitive skills. So these are the skills which probably we use in our brain to think, to read, to learn, to remember. And I said we already have it. What is needed is to sharpen them so that we can have a better reasoning, and we learn the habit of paying attention, whether it is attention to yourself or attention to the problem that your organization is facing. And if you have that habit of knowing the problems, paying attention to that, I'm sure you have already solved it 50%, and rest 50% can be taken up by your cognitive skills. The third thing which I would like to add here is your emotional quotient, and strengthen and so making it, your emotional skills a little bit more better than what you have it now. All of us, we have the emotional skills, and of course, the situation in the COVID era has made our emotional skills a bit, rusty, and sometimes we are more emotional, sometimes we have lost certain emotions. I don't want to harp upon those issues where we have lost and we have become more emotional, but I would like to say that to be successful post COVID era, we got to be having better emotional skills. And the next one I would like to, and this is I think known to most of us, that we need to be adaptable. The eminent speakers have really touched upon that part. Be ready for any kind of responsibilities given to you. Be ready for any kind of, especially the challenges. Be ready for any kind of challenges which might come in your next appointment. Next thing which I would like to highlight here, which I'd like you to be remembering, is be resilient. You have to generate a feeling of resilience, and it should be such that whatever situation you are put to, you bounce back with better results every time. That is what I would say you should be resilient about. Uh, these all things will make you a self-directing person, and a self-directing person will need to take ownership of your role, what you have done and what your team has done. So you must be able to take that ownership. And let me take an example here. Suppose you're working for an organization X, so you must be able to behave like an entrepreneur within the organization, so that they know that yes, you have taken this up as an entrepreneur and as a challenge, and you will make it a success. So this is what I would say, and this will lead you to captain your own career. And I'm sure once you are the captain of your own career, there's nothing to look back, and you will be a successful person with that. So coming back to the digital capabilities, now there's enough has been written, and if you look around the papers, the social media, I think you will get enough to know about it. And please improvise onto your digital capabilities to be successful in the post-COVID era. Somewhere coming to the emotional, or rather I will attach this to the emotional one, emotional quotient of yours. You must learn to empathy and empathize with the situation and with the people around you. So that's going to make all those things can be brought in and can be managed with better communication skills. With these, I would like to hand over back to Dr. Sapna, because I think more can be discussed about this during the question answer session. Over to you, Dr. Sapna.
Thank you so much, Dr. Surendra, for your valuable thoughts. I would now like to introduce to you Mr. Anirban Hazra. He is also an alumni from D.Y. Patil Demography University in the year 2014. In the field of corporate financial analysis and analytics team, he was since 2014. Having worked with one of the India's largest private conglomerate, RAL, later he switched to consulting firm and have been a part of esteemed Big Four firm like EY, and currently is working with Deloitte. He has specialized in financial reporting, resource planning, report restructuring, innovation, and new technology adaptation. I welcome you, Anirban. I would now request Anirban to kindly address the participants.
Thank you, ma'am. First of all, being an alumni, I would like to show my gratitude to Gopal sir, Sapna ma'am, and Vani ma'am. And it brings me immense pleasure, like from the classroom one day to being a speaker for the next gen. It's like a great feeling can be expressed through words. And now going back to the topic, I believe most of my senior sirs have already spoken a lot, and I totally, take up on that part itself that we need to be vocal, or rather, instead of vocal, I'll say we need to be extrovert. In terms like we need to ensure that we are able to express what needs to be done, and for that we need to have all the information in place. It basically means you need to have an understanding of what you want to do in your career, whether you want to build a career in finance sector or you want to build a career in marketing sector, and accordingly you can then decide that what is the skill set which you need, like right now, like sir said, that the innovation and technology is the next thing. The digitalization is something which is coming over. To add on, like what McKinsey has did, even now, from my personal experience, I know like even in Deloitte, we have now entirely optimized the entire taxation process. So it's completely digitalized. All you need to do is like any GST related work or any tax compliance related work, you just need to input few data sets and blah, your numbers are out. Like what is the report? Everything gets generated automatically. So this is the next thing. So like to all the engineers or to all the new people who are coming in, that you need to know that just your plain graduate or postgraduate degree is not going to be sufficient. You need to have that adaptability to the new technology, like which technologies are coming into place, or uh, get acquainted with more and more technologies. Like earlier, to how the things have changed gradually. Like earlier we used to keep an accounts in paper and books, in large number of books. Then we moved on to MS Excel, and now then we moved to Access. Now the things are changing. Now the data is becoming huge. It's the time for big data. So we need to understand like how gradually and eventually how the things are progressing. You cannot rely on the same old age old stuffs. Of course they form a foundation for you, but you need to be constantly keep on learning and upgrading yourself with the new technology which are out there, so that you are quick to grasp the market. And if you want to grow in your career, that's the only option you are left out with, to be very honest. Like these days, when I still remember back from 6 years, like I'm in the corporate from last 7 years. What was there 7 years back and what is now? I personally feel like, okay, a lot of things have changed. Earlier, we could, have said that, okay, if a person is having a normal background of, Microsoft Excel and PowerPoint presentation, he knows to make PowerPoint presentation good enough for a startup. But these days, when we interview the people, the first thing we ask them is, okay, do you have an advanced knowledge of Excel? Do you know this? Do you have any technology knowledge? Have you worked either ways on any other projects? Do you know how the functioning works? So the expectations have changed for the leadership team. So it is very much essential that you need to coordinate with your seniors, or you need to coordinate, ask your seniors like what are the new technologies which are coming up, or how the things are functioning, and accordingly upgrade your skills. There are a lot of options available, and trust me, most of them are free of cost available. You can just rely on YouTube and stuff. You can get the basics from there, but they are good enough to help you survive, because there are lots and lots of things which you can just know by and you can eventually develop the skill. The second important thing is like when you're speaking with the seniors over in your team, in order to do that, you need to have a lot of information. Like rather information, you need to be aware what is going on. So you cannot always speak just on the numbers or just on what your business is happening. In order to communicate with the leadership team, you need to be aware what is going on currently. Like, one of the multi-billionaire person has just traveled to space. That can be one of the topics. Or what is happening in Olympics? How many silvers have India won? So these can be, few of those topics, but be sure don't make a fool of yourself. Whatever information you're picking up, just ensure if you know that, speak on that. If you don't know, don't speak on that. And other than that, I believe the graduation degrees are must, but yes, you need to have a supplement in addition to your certifications, like in addition to your grad certificates, that these are some things which you have done. If you get an opportunity, I'll always ask my juniors that, please go on and get some live projects, like 2-3 weeks projects, which are usually available from banks, or many corporates also now these days provide such projects. So you can take you can get some experiences from that. Like, it, although it may not be a complete corporate experience, but yeah, you get a gist. Like this, it helps to build a networking basically. And trust me guys, during these days, networking is one of the most important thing. If you have a good network, you can survive and you can, go places. So with this, I won't take much of your time, and I'll leave Sapna ma'am to carry on the presentation. Yes.
Thank you so much, Anirban, for your interaction and your thoughts. We'll proceed now with the question answer session. One question to you, Mr. Surendra. As a research and development advisor, what special skills are required to outshine in the area? Mr. Surendra, sir, Dr. Surendra, sir, can you please answer this question?
Can you hear me now, ma'am?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Okay, the skills needed will be that we need to have a good knowledge of the market we are in, where we are working, what kind of research and development activities we are going to undertake. So to do so, we need to be aware about the market. And if you know about that, then you start collecting the data, and you being commercially aware will add value to that. So what commercial activities are happening in that particular sector in your area of operation? Then interpersonal skills, as I mentioned earlier, and communication skill. And as Anirban just now pointed out, be aware and be in line with the technology prevailing now today. So that is what I think will lead you to be successful in this area as a research and development advisor or research and development professional. And I'm sure you will all agree with me that whatever job it could be, your skills as a project management professional will always add value to it. So be aware and be current with your project management techniques and collecting data and being specific to what makes it successful. So I think that is what I would say that you must have within you to be successful in this field. Over to you, Dr. Sapna.
Yes, sir, would you like to add something to what Surendra sir said?
Sorry, is it a question for me?
Uh, would you like to add something to what Surendra sir said?
I think, in oil and gas, surprisingly, the digital impact has been relatively less compared to many other industries. I think mainly because the oil and gas industry is a very mature, stable, conservative environment. Each of the oil companies, they have their own business culture, which they really hold close to their chest. They don't like changing. So you find digital growth has happened only in the operations sector, where when we operate the oil and gas facilities. The automation is where you will see the digitalization. It hasn't really affected the oil and gas way of life, not in a big way, like the way the technology companies have changed and evolved. The oil and gas has not. But I would say that if you want to work in not just oil and gas, but in any industry, it's become very critical that you do some internship with type of companies you want to work for. Because through the internship, it's like practical knowledge. You learn a few things when you become an intern. Number one, you get comfortable with the work environment, which is very different from a student environment. Number two, you grow a network. You get to know people in that company that might offer you a job at a later date or give you a reference. And number three, the lifestyle or the work ethics is very different in a business environment as compared to a student life. So the internship gives you exposure to all of this. And finally, you put that in your CV. So when you're applying for a job, that comes across as practical experience, even though you have never worked before for any company. So I think I would suggest internship is very, very critical. Try and do as many as you can. Some of the internships could be online for 1 week or 2 weeks, but you will, after you do a couple of them, you will start to see the huge benefit you get from these internships. And I think the previous, I think it was Mrs. Surendra who mentioned EQ, emotional quotient. That's a very important thing. When you're at an interview, your EQ stands out. If it's low, it comes across as low. If it is high, it comes across as high. So work on those skills. Again, you can take free courses online to figure out how to improve your EQ, which is going to be very useful during an interview and also, when you start work. Thank you, Dr. Sapna.
In fact, Sapna, I wanted to, I think you are also aware of it, right?
Yes, sir.
That summer internship at the university is for 2 months, where the student is expected to go to the university, to go to the corporate and work for 2 months. And in addition, I think Anirban will also agree with me, we have something called as a live project with us, where twice a week, the student is expected in the 3rd semester to go to the corporate and work out there and network themselves. And many of these students have got pre-placement offers from the corporates because of these two things. Yeah.
Oh.
Thank you. Go ahead, Sapna.
Yes. Sir, addition to what you have just discussed with us, there's one question for you. As an expert in this sector, how would you see the growth in this sector in the long run?
Okay, yeah, I think I can talk quite a bit about that. Let me first just focus on India. What's happening in oil and gas or energy industry in India. The Indian government is a huge push to double India's energy production by the year 2035. So the production that is today of oil and gas. And so they want to double it in about 14, 15 years, which is a huge scale. If you are from that industry, you would probably go, how can you do this in such a short period of time? But that's the goal the Indian government has. So to support that goal, to make it realistic, so what they want to do is crude oil consumption, because India is a country and China that is growing at a massive pace every year. Unlike most other countries in the world, if you look at the developed world, they progress at a very, very slow pace because they've reached their developed stage and maturity. The developing nations aspire to be there, and they have given themselves a time limit by which time they want to go from developing to developed country. So India is one of those, has that aspiration. And to develop a country at a rapid pace means you'll be consuming energy at a rapid pace. So that's where this is coming from for the Indian government, that it's a realistic plan. You have to increase you have to increase production because your consumption will increase at a rapid pace every year as the country grows, as the GDP increases. So the plan for the Indian government is every year, the crude oil consumption will increase 3.6% every year. Gas, which is natural gas, that consumption should be increased 4.2% every year. And there's a technology called regasification. So what that is, I'll briefly explain. You may have seen ships bringing in liquefied natural gas. You will see LNG on those ships, on the side of those ships. So those ships come to Indian ports every day, a lot of them, bringing in liquefied natural gas from countries like Kuwait and Australia. They are the producers, so India is a consumer. So these ships come in. When one of those ships comes into a port, it's brought in gas in a liquid form. So you need a plant onshore that will receive the liquid and turn it into gas. Those plants are called regasification. And that gas is then piped to power plants to produce electricity, which will then be used by the industries. So this regas capacity, Indian government, they want to increase that capacity by 50% between this year and next year, just in 2 years. So those who want to work in oil and gas in India, some amazing things will happen in the next 15 years. And you can be part of that growth. At the same time, I want to say something. If you're serious about energy industry, you should do your MBA in, I think a lot of business schools now offer energy management for an MBA program. I'm not sure if D.Y. Patil University has that, but that's something you should think about, an MBA in energy management, if you want to be in the energy industry. Keeping in mind, if you do choose to go into oil and gas, you have to realize that the current forecast worldwide, not for India, worldwide, the oil consumption in the world has been increasing about 2% every year for the last 10 years. In spite of the concern with climate change, oil consumption keeps on increasing worldwide. However, for the first time in the history of the oil industry, a decline is currently forecast will start from year 2040. So if you think about your age, now if you're 20 years old, by 2040, you'll be close to 40 years old. You don't want to start to see growth decline when you're 40, because that's when your career really starts to take off. So you have to make your career future-proof. And I would suggest the way you do that is you can stay in the energy sector, but also you might specialize. If you do an energy management degree, specialize also in renewable, because it's a matter of time that type of energy will replace fossil fuel, which is oil and gas. It's not clear exactly when that's going to happen, but I can see that renewable is going to keep increasing. Fossil fuel, oil and gas will slowly increase until 2040, and that's when we might see renewable taking over. So to make your career future-proof, think about renewable energy, not just oil and gas. Thank you, Dr. Sapna.
Anirban, I would like to ask one question for you. Anirban, you are the student of DYPUSM, and there are various activities in which you were involved in. So how did your journey in DYPUSM help you in your career? And what, according to you, are the skills which a student of finance, because I'm 100% sure that you have done MBA in finance, and you being a student of mine, I can correlate it. So what are the things that are required by the student to get the opportunity in the corporate world? And what, according to you, are the skills which you feel that after COVID-19, and once this pandemic gets over, so what are the additional skills which the student has to acquire to stand apart in the crowd?
Correct. I totally agree. Like whatever I said earlier. In addition to that, I believe like how D.Y. Patil played a role in my development. I'll say the the group projects which were being given to us, they definitely added a lot of advantage of public speaking. Earlier, like of course, in college days, we didn't had such a kind of exposure. But when we were in management college, we used to happen to have like presentation almost every week. One or two presentations were always there. So it was kind of a confidence booster, and it also helped us to kind of improve on our PowerPoint presentations. Other than that, I think the most essential thing, if you are looking going into the corporate, is the basic understanding. You need to have a very strong grasp on the basic understanding of concepts. Like I do remember when I first went for my first for the interview, the first question which was asked to me was, okay, so you are an MBA finance, so tell us the golden rules of accounting. So yeah, so the very important thing is, I believe the students should not lose out on the basic understanding. The basic concept should be clear, and also they should know in which field they want to grow or they want to make their career. Because like be it finance or be it marketing, there are n number of scopes where you can go. For instance, if I go in the finance sector, you must be there are multiple, like you can either become a stock market trader, or you can become a financial analyst, or you can become an accountant. Whatever you choose, the option, you need to be very sure like in which field or in which in which field you want to grow. For me, it was like I was very clear, okay, I want to go into an analytics kind of thing, because that was something which always interested me. So yeah, and I have been growing into that field only. Although I will of course say that along with analytics, always had that interest in stock markets. Yeah, but I was pretty sure that okay, although I have an interest in stock market, but it's along with finance, it also involved a lot of marketing skills to, there were targets and all of those. So I was pretty sure that no, I don't want to do that selling business. If it is for myself, that's okay, but I don't want to do it for others. So yeah, I was pretty clear. And I do remember during our time, there was that ICICI stock market competition, which was held in college days to get the people accustomed with the stock market environment. So it was also an added booster. That was something when I got introduced to stock market, and it kind of interested me. So yeah, that's one of the things. And so I do believe that these are the the first thing is the in MBA we revise everything, like whatever we have learned, the basics in finance. So all of that get revised in the first two sems. So that is one added advantage, that you get a revision of your entire basics. The second thing is you get to communicate. The communication skills obviously improve because of the presentation. And the third and the most important thing is you create a network. Like I don't know how many of my college friends, like my graduation friends, are still in touch. It is countable, but most of my friends who are still in touch are from my MBA days. Like we are still connected through either by social networking or by WhatsApp groups and all. So it's always like we kind of tend to help each other out whenever we have any vacancies in our offices. We put a post of that this is something which is coming up. So that's something which you need to create. I believe that I'm not sure how in this cycle it will be very difficult, considering the online lectures. Mostly students are not that acquainted how we were in our days. But yeah, that is something which I believe is very essential, that our students the next get to create a network, because this is something which is going to help them in the long run. Like we not only had network with our batches, but we were also acquainted with our seniors, like because seniors were responsible for handling many of the projects, and even acquainted with our juniors, because when we became seniors we were responsible for them. So yeah, those are the few things I believe which will be challenged now. But yeah, I do believe that shuffling the groups frequently when we are having now group studies will be very essential, so that people get to interact more with each other, or rather they are forced to interact more with each other, so that when they come into the corporate, they have that adaptability of working with different type of people, because it is one of the most critical part I have seen. Like, people lose out patience. We need to understand that, okay, everyone has a different perspective, and we need to have that, patience to understand what the other person is trying to say, the patience to listen to the other person, and also the capability to make them understand or to justify our point in a polite manner. That is very, very essential, I think. So yeah, I believe I have answered the question. So yeah, we can move to the next question.
Yeah.
Vani,
Thank you so much.
Vani,
Yeah.
Vani, let me add to what Anirban said. As I mentioned earlier, about 200, 250 students, corporates come to our college for giving placements to our students. And I normally make it a point as the director to sit down with them, have a cup of coffee with them, or tea with them, or lunch with them. And in all these times when I have lunch with them, I ask them certain basic questions. And what I found is corporates give 20% weightage to fundamental knowledge, exactly what Anirban said. That means golden rules of finance, or something like the ratios that you learn, or marketing and selling ka difference kya hai, etc. 40% weightage to the application knowledge that you have. That means they give you a situation and they say, please explain this. And another 40% to the personality development of the student, which they try to evaluate. And when I talk of personality development or the holistic development, some of the things that they ask is, have you ever demonstrated leadership styles? Have you ever worked in a team? In case you are faced any challenging situation, then how did you overcome this? Give an example of that. They check whether you can communicate well. As somebody said, you need to be an extrovert, you need to talk well, you need to have a good English and all of this. Whether the student has an emotional stability. Does he become weak when he's faced with major challenges? Does he have empathy or sympathy to the various societal groups? And very important, as I think it was Sid or Surendra who said that you have to know something about the industry in which the companies are working. And you should know the details about the company itself. Believe me when I tell you that I've been interviewing a few directors for various organizations and various institutes. And they come not even knowing what is the growth, what is the vision, what is the path which they have followed, etc., etc. And then it creates a very poor impression. So some of these things is what I would like that you should know and find answers when you want to succeed in life. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir. So my next question will be to Mr. Sunil Shastri, sir. Sir, we all know that you were a student of IIT Kharagpur, a faculty of IIT Kharagpur, and also a student at Harvard and a faculty at UK. So in terms of soft skills, what were the learning and how important were these in terms of career development of a student? What are the soft skills according to you that is important for a student for his or her career development?
Thank you, Vani. Thank you for that question. I think these are the absolute crucial things. And Dr. Gopal was just earlier saying what the companies are giving focus to. And I think the focus is the 40%, or even I would say the other 40%. So really, I would say almost all the focus that an employer would give would be to these soft skills. Because technical skills, people take it for granted more or less, because you got a qualification, you got a degree, you got a classification degree, first class degree or second class degree or higher 2-1 degree or whatever, or a merit degree or whatever. So people know that you have achieved those hard skills, or whatever you like to call technical skills. So in my view, and I think these have been oft repeated, but let me just focus on some of them. I think communication skill is the most important in this present day world. And communication, not just in the sense of communicating interpersonal communication, but also we have to realize that we are in a hyper communicated world like never before. And this is going to be more so in the coming future. We are going to be even more and more hyper connected. This whole idea that we are in a global village is going to be absolutely true within no time at all. And then it comes with that you have to work in teams. People have talked about group work, etc. I think that's the very basis of this soft skill, that you have to learn to work in teams, because you will never work on your own. They say that if you want to walk fast, go on your own. But if you want to go far, then walk with somebody else. So in a company, in an organization, in a corporate sector, you have to work with other people. You cannot say that, I will work on my own and because I'm so bright or I'm so brilliant or whatever. No, you have to work with everybody. So I think teamwork is important. Problem solving, you have to be, you have to think on your feet. You don't have time. You have to be very quick with the solutions sometimes. You have to be dependable. Dependability is extremely important. Your bosses, your juniors, your subordinates, your seniors, they have to think that this guy is dependable. Otherwise, nobody is going to give you any credence. Critical thinking is very important. Again, as we say, we have to think in terms of problem solving and immediate thinking. Critical thinking is very important. So you have to go in depth of a thing. So thinking on your feet is one thing, and critical thinking is another thing. Both those things are important. And again, positive attitude. You have to have a can-do attitude. You cannot say, "Oh, this is so difficult to do." No, you have to say, you have to find ways of how to do it. Not to find ways of how not to do it. And then, of course, you have things like organizational skills. You have to organize yourself. You have to organize other people. It's not just organization skills to you, but also how to organize the other people around you, including your seniors and your, juniors. And you have to always be creative with ideas. You have to be adaptable. And then you'll always have a situation when you work in a group, there will be a conflict. People will not agree with each other. And you have to be that mediator. You have to find ways of mediating. So conflict resolution is very important. And most importantly, I think, is honesty. You have to be honest and say, you have to put your hand up and say, I didn't understand this, or I don't know about this, and can I know about this, and so on. So honesty is extremely important. And gregariousness, friendliness, which I think Sid mentioned very early on. You have to be likable. People have to like you. Unless people like you, they will not want to work with you. I just want to end by giving a completely different set of qualifications, which in the UK, the government requires for any senior government role, like an advisor or something like that. And these are very good skills also. And they are, again, skills. Some of them are soft skills, some of them are hard skills. But there are 7 skills. They call it standards in public life. These are tests of standards in public life. And they are selflessness. You have to be selfless. You have to be thinking of the others, thinking of the corporation, thinking of your corporate sector. Integrity, very important. You have to be, integrity is the most crucial thing. There was a famous employer who said that I don't care how intelligent or how educated my employee is, I want him to have integrity. The third one is objectivity. You have to look at every situation. Always, how will my family succeed, or how will I succeed, or how will my friend succeed? Objectivity. Accountability. You have to be held accountable. You will be held accountable. You cannot escape that. And you have to be open. So I mentioned that you have to be open and honest. So the next one, 5th one is openness. The 6th one is honesty, which I have mentioned also. And finally, leadership. You have to show signs of leadership. And those you can only have when you have acquired these extra, what you call as soft skills through your college days, literally, leading in college unions or leading in college activities and things like that. Shows you this, gives you the skills, secretary of this committee or secretary of that committee. All those things are very, very crucial. And I think those are some of the skills that I think have helped me but also I think can help the younger people. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. So now I will move on to Dr. Surendra Kumar, sir. Sir, there are some students of ours who would like to summer internship in Jakarta. So if they want to do a summer internship, what is the procedure they will have to follow to do the internship, sir?
I believe that's quite a difficult question to answer for me, but I can just give you a few hints, and the students might like to follow those. They will have to be in touch with the various organizations by visiting their websites and being in touch with some of the seniors who are there. And once it is done, then I think you'll have to apply for a visitor's visa, because they don't directly issue a visa. So after you have done with that, you land into Indonesia, and then you have to convert that visa into work visa or limited stay permit. And that is the procedure one needs to follow. But before all these activities are done, one needs to keep the radar on to find where are the opportunities, and you have to identify some sectors where you are most suitable to work on. Or even if you want to change, then do you have those required qualifications to be selected for that job? So that's what I would like to advise, that you need to keep your radar on and keep going. And in case you have some links there, then be in touch with that person, and he or she may be able to advise you the best about the available positions, and also the activities you need to complete before you land into Jakarta.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. Taking the same question ahead, I would like to ask, which are the fastest growing sectors in Jakarta, sir, according to you?
Well, not that I'm connected with some of these, the sport and shipping or supply chain management, but I would give the thumbs up to the manufacturing sector in Indonesia. The second thing I would give something which is happening and which is more likely to open up the moment COVID is over, will be the tourism and hospitality industry management. So I would say these are the sectors which one must look to, manufacturing and tourism. And after this is done, rather once one has put their efforts, the other sector which they should also track is supply chain management. Being close to Singapore, and Singapore almost being in a state of, I would say, brim literally to the neck, they won't be able to handle more because of the being a very small country. And the next thing, the neighboring countries will take the lead. So whether it's Indonesia or Malaysia. So Indonesia is very close to that. So I'm sure port and shipping industry also will look up, and it's already being done so, especially in the repair and shipbuilding business. So these are the areas to look at when you are looking for jobs or fastest growing sectors in Indonesia.
Okay. So are there any online opportunities, sir? Currently, are there any online opportunities, or it has to happen through physical attendance itself?
Not really physical. Yes, there are online, and I'm sure the young generation, our students are very used to finding these, and I'm sure some of them might be in touch with the opportunities available there. So not necessarily it is physical, but yes, online you can have lots of information. And if I'm around there once after the COVID situation, I can get you more information about the openings and about the possibilities.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir. So now I would like to ask one simple question to all the eminent speakers. So what, according to you, or what is the advice that you would like to give to the students who are watching this webinar? So I would like to first ask Sitzer for this question, about this question. So what advice you would like to give to the students who are watching this webinar?
Is that for me, the question?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let me, I think, answer it in a different way, that same question. Let's say two possibilities. I am interviewing someone. There are 10 candidates. I will pick one. So who will I pick? The other one is I have 10 candidates who have been nominated by their department heads for a promotion, and I'm going to promote 2 of them. So which 2 will I pick? Now, I know, as Dr. Gopal mentioned before, I will assume they all have excellent hard skills. So there is no issue about their technical knowledge or technical depth or education background. So that's given for all the candidates. So what else am I looking for that I can use to differentiate the one that I will pick? So I look at 4 areas that might differentiate one from the rest. And it's for both job interviews as well as for promotions. And there are good reasons behind them. The first one is attitude of the individual. Is there a track record that that individual will always run the extra mile, will always climb the extra stairs? In other words, that individual does not rely on entitlement. Even if you're entitled to something, they would always want to earn it. So it comes across in a promotion environment. I already know based on feedback from the department heads of the various candidates. In an interview, I have to seek that out because it's not easy to know. The second thing is personal responsibility. Does this person take on personal responsibility, or in a crisis, in a failed situation, will the person blame somebody else? So I expect that person to say, if you're working somewhere, to say that when there's a problem, a crisis, to say, sorry, boss, I screwed up. It didn't work out, but now I know why it didn't work out. And these are the corrective actions I'm going to take. So own up, be accountable, and just be open and honest that, sorry, I didn't do my best. Work ethics. Is this individual highly disciplined? So when I expect that person to stay back, cancel vacations, would that person be willing to do this? Does he have the discipline to do this? You may want to do that, but he may not be disciplined enough. And the last thing I look at is the individual the type of person who will always delay instant gratification and push it back into the future based on, I'll do the hard bit now and enjoy the fruits later on. Don't worry about the fruits. So are you able to delay gratification? So these are the things that I would look at if I want to hire someone or if I want to promote someone. And these skill sets, even though they sound very obvious, most people don't have them. They have one or the other, but not all of them. Very few have all of them. And they stand out. They're the ones you always know in a company. That person is like that. I want to put him or her on a fast track. So that's really what I would look at. And if the students develop these skill sets, all of them, not one or two, but all of them, I would expect them to be successful in their future. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I would like to pose the same question to Anirban. Anirban, what is the advice that you would like to give students watching?
Yes, I think that the student first and the most important thing is the student should get a clarity in his mind, like where he wants to build his career. That is very crucial because over the period of time and in the due course, how he's going to work or how his things are going to lined up will be based on his decision. So if he wants to build a career in marketing, he needs to know, okay, so these are the few things which he needs to build up. Like he might go for an internship or a life projects with a marketing firm or a research firm, basically marketing research. If he want to do a marketing research, or if he actually want to do a marketing, or he wants to be a part of a supply chain team. So he needs to have that clarity in mind. Or if he wants to build his career in finance, then he needs to decide, okay, in finance, then what next? What in finance? Do we want digitization? How? Or do you want to move into taxation? It is again a very, very large scope. So accordingly, he needs to start his preparations upfront. Like if you want to, build a career in markets, I'll recommend that, okay, post-COVID, if you wants to get a job, usually in India, like unless and until you have these certifications, you are not eligible to, trade or trade into stocks or derivatives or even in the banking sector. So it is advisable, like if he has that clarity, that okay, he's going to go into the financial instruments market or something of that sort. So okay, go ahead. Along with his regular courses, he needs to ensure that he has those add-on certificates in hand. It's a government certification valid for 3 years to 5 years. Get those certifications done, no harm, even if you're not going into that specific field, still that certification is there with you. In addition to that, especially for the MBA students, it is essential that they get on the new get onto with in that forms a part of your network. It helps you to create a network, and honestly in my case it was applicable. Like I had done my internship and I was being referred from there directly for my job. So directly after my third semester I have joined the corporate organization. So yeah, internship is something which obviously adds a lot of value. So ensure you pick up your internship wisely, and ensure you do the work or the project allocated to you very diligently and with passion, and it will help you to take places. And in addition to that, I think again, we have been emphasizing in the entire session is keep improving your awareness about what is happening around you, and also develop interpersonal skills. That is, you need to be vocal. That is very, very important.
Yeah, Anirban, going ahead, I would like to ask, you just mentioned about a certain certification courses. So
Correct.
I wanted to know in the area of finance, what are the certification courses you would like to recommend to our students?
See, if like I said, if they want to go into the financial instruments or stock markets or banking sector, I think there are multiple, like around 30 various types of certifications available by government. NISM certifications, we call them. Each of them vary for a period of 3 to 5 years. So if you are in your final semester, you get those certificates, and they you don't have to study much. If you are of an exam, you pass that exams and you get your certificates, and it's an online exam and you get your results instantly. So it's very if you have these things handy, for instance, I want to go into derivatives, or I want to go and deal into equity markets. So I need to have the NISM certification for equity or NISM certification for derivatives. If I have these 3, 4 certifications from government, for the next 5 years, I need not worry. Like I know, okay, in the next, and even if I'm going for my internship or if I go for the corporate, the first thing they are going to ask me is, do you have certification? I'll be like, yes, I have the certification. So they will be like, okay, so we don't have to. Then again, the corporate will obviously pick that person who has a certain homework before coming to them. So it's obvious, like if I am going without certification and with some knowledge, and if someone who is coming with certification, it's deemed that okay, he has the fundamental because he has cleared this subject. And it's like we can directly place them into the job. It's and they can shadow the few employees and they can do it. Whereas for a new for a resource who do not have any certification, the corporate will have to invest in him some time to get his certifications cleared. The corporate will have to give him some time. So obviously the preference will be the one with certifications. If you don't want to build a career in financial instruments, say you want to build a career in research and development, I'll recommend research field. The data size is consistently keeping on growing. So you better have some technology knowledge like big data. You go with some big data skill sets. So there are some certifications available in LinkedIn Learnings or Udemy. You can go and explore those options. So these, if you have these, these homeworks done or these types of certifications done, it always puts your CV on a heavier side from the other CVs. So yeah, I'll definitely recommend that you, first of all, you need to plan like where you want to build your career, and accordingly decide like which things or which certifications you need to get.
Anirban, you mentioned about the long-term.
One line I want to add, okay, and that is, industry is moving very fast. So while you do all these certifications, like what he says, in the area of finance, you talk in terms of derivatives, etc. Today, the trend is to go into financial analytics and fintech. Yeah, so you need to do something like that. If you're getting into HR, then you've got to have a specialization in HR analytics, marketing analytics. These are something which are very important. Now, what we have offered in our college as a non-certification, Anirban, for your information is, we talked about big data analytics. We are having a course on big data analytics. We are having a course on AI, artificial intelligence, and we are having a course on digital marketing. Because if you are getting into marketing, you can get into that. Irrespective of whether you are into marketing, finance, HR, big data analytics will help you there. And AI is something which is really useful in case of supply chain, in case of such into manufacturing organizations and all that. Yeah. So you need to get into those type of specializations. Yeah, that's important. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, Vani, go ahead.
Yeah. Anirban, are there any courses which are scheduled for the students who are in the second year, and short-term courses like the 3 to 6 month courses, which can be enrolled by a student now, and the student can finish by the time the second year gets over? Because you talked about 3 to 5 year courses. Are there any courses which
No, these are not 3 to 5 year courses. All these certifications, I personally have done the certifications while I was in MBA. So it was like just running parallel to our regular exams. We just had, you need, you're well acquainted with your syllabus, and you can give this certification exams. The license, the certificates which you get, it's basically a kind of license to trade in equity market or derivative market. They are valid for 3 to 5 years. So like I had the certification in equity and derivatives, which was valid for around 5 years at that time. So it's dependent on the government policy. The certification, the term of the license may vary for different types of certification, like banking certification. Even those who are working in banks, those who want to go into banking sector, they have some NISM banking certification, which is mandated whether you go and work in bank or any employee who is directly employed in bank. They need to, any branch, BM or above, they need to have those certifications. Only then they are eligible. So it's gradually even a part of banking training, which comes on every 3 years, every 5 years. So it's basically nothing but your NISM certifications. So you can either appear them privately before joining any banking organization, or once you join the bank, you'll have to appear for that.
Yeah.
So it's irrespective.
A lot of these courses are available on Swayam, which is the government portal.
Correct.
And you can courses are available there.
Right. You can just move into the NISM website of Indian government. There you get all of the listed certifications. So if any, if any resource or any student is willing to go and check, like what are the certifications available, even out of curiosity, you can check that. And you even get all the notes from them itself. There will be nothing out of the syllabus. Whatever notes
is basically for finance and banking and insurance.
Correct.
Yeah.
True.
So you'll have to look out for such organizations in the other places. And Swayam, consolidates all of this. So you get a lot of courses out
Yes,
there which you can do.
exactly.
Yeah,
SWAM
Vani,
is
next question, you can go forward now.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Anirban, because I think the students, MBA students who are there watching this video, I think it will be very useful information for them so that they can make up their career now itself in the second year. Yeah. So Surendra Kumar, sir, according to you, what is the advice you would like to give to the students, sir?
Enough has been talked about it, what advice and what they need to do. But I would still like to say that believe in yourself, and to be successful, you have to be really looking at all those what eminent speakers have talked about. Be likable, own up your failures, and must learn from the failures. I would say learn entrepreneur skills. Look at the opportunities, what you have in front of you, what you have in the industry. When I say entrepreneurship skills, I think it is also required when you are an employee, because you really will contribute more than a normal employee once you know these entrepreneurship skills. Once you have identified, once you have acquired the required skills for the job, I would say nothing stops you from being confident. And remember, you are the best. Believe in yourself, and I think nothing stops you from being a successful person in any sector and industry. All the best to you, all the students. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. So final remarks from Sunil Shastri, sir. So your advice to the students? So you are muted.
Yeah. So sorry, Vani, is this the final question? Because I want to say a few things very quickly.
Yes, this is the final question, sir.
Okay.
But
So,
you can say a few things what you want, Sunil.
I'm going to respond to the question. I'm going to respond to the question mainly. So now the main thing that I want to say here is what is it in terms of, what is it that the student has to do? Although we have said many things, I'll just give an example of how it is in the UK universities. And that might be a little bit more explanatory. Every module, every university module, whether you're undergraduate student or postgraduate student, every university module is worth 200 hours. There are 6 modules in a year, normally for an undergraduate degree, and various numbers in the postgraduate degree. But 6 modules in a year, and every module is worth 200 hours. Now, of that, only about 30 to 50 hours are delivered by teachers, by professors in the labs or in classrooms. So what you're seeing here is out of 200 hours of the module's weightage, only 30 to 50 is delivered by the teachers directly to the students. The other 150 hours or other 170 hours that have to come from your own self-study. That's the only way you can progress in life, because what you will then do is you will read so much more, you will understand so much more, and you will learn so much more. So that is very important. The next thing that I want to say here is that the world is now defined completely by what is known as disruption. So earlier we used to talk of disruptions or disruptive technology as an aberration. Now that is the norm. Disruptive technology and disruptions are the norm of the current world, and they are going to be increasingly so. They are going to be, you are going to find things that you learned in your undergraduate degree is pretty much irrelevant by the time you graduate, So you can imagine how quickly things will be, the disruptive technologies will be playing a role. So continuous professional development, lifelong learning, those are the things that are going to keep you going. That are the things, those are the things that will keep you up to date and keep you relevant in the job market. And the other important thing that I want to say is that we have to remember, this is something we have to absolutely remember, that we live in a VUCA world. This is a phrase that you may not be familiar with. It's called VUCA, VUCA world. And our world is characterized by volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. And that is going to be ever more so. Our world is going to be even more volatile. It is going to be more uncertain. It's going to be more complex and more ambiguous. It's not going to be black and white. It's going to be several shades of gray, if you like. So remote working, on all those things that we talked about, we have to really adapt to these things very, very quickly. And you have to realize that there will be higher wage expectations from people. So there'll be a more competitive market. People will be looking for shorter working weeks. flexible working weeks, urban flights, whether to move from, there's already in the UK, a lot of people have moved from London to suburbs, to outside areas, outside London, to country as we call it, city and country. So people have moved to the countryside because they don't like to live in the city. The country life is much better, quality of life is better, and so on. So those things will be very important. The other thing I would like to say is you have to be entrepreneurial. You have to start thinking in terms of what you can do on your own after 10, 15, 20 years of experience in your own career. What can you do on your own? Even in my field of academics, in the old days, you just research, you taught, and you got promotion. Now it's not so. In the UK, it is, you have to have a PhD, number one. They call it 4 or 5 Ps. PhD, then you have to have publications, then you have to have prestige. So those were common before also. But now one additional thing is there, and that's called pounds. You have to earn the university the money. So you have to be entrepreneurial to put your expertise into some kind of a project and bid money for that project and get the money, and the university then becomes happy with you and gives you a promotion. So that is how it works. So you have to be entrepreneurial, you have to be flexible, you have to also switching careers, you have to switch careers. You cannot say that I did, whatever MBA in marketing, so I'll stick to marketing for the rest of my life. No, you'll have to probably move to something else. You have to also be mobile in your locations. You have to move, you have to be ready to move when the situation requires, and so on. But last and most important thing that I want to say in terms of advice to students would be read. There is no alternative to reading. Read everything under the sun. Our brain is spongy, it is like a sponge. So we have to be like a sponge and mop up knowledge, just as a sponge mops up water. Similarly, our brain has to be the mop, it has to mop up knowledge. And that can only happen if you read. And there is no alternative to reading. The more you read, the more you'll understand, the more you will learn, and the more expertise you'll gain. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for your wonderful insights on the skills which are required by the students. And I think it is really wonderful, sir, because you have shared your experience in UK, and we are able to compare the Indian system with that of the UK education system. And I think we will be successful if we adopt the same kind of system here also, because here generally in India, what is observed is that many classes are taken by the faculties, whereas the student interaction and the student participation is something which is to a certain extent, not to a great extent, but only to a certain extent. So that is something which we will have to improve. So I think that will be our next course of action, which we will all adopt in our systems. So with this, I would like to call Dr. Sapna for concluding remarks.
Talk to Dr. Gopal about this, about these ideas about how, how things work in the UK.
Yeah, we would like to get connected to you, sir, through video calls or through Zoom meetings, wherein we can have a collaboration with your university and with the faculties over there. Yeah, thank you so much, sir. So now I would like to invite Dr. Sapna to give our concluding remarks and also to give vote of thanks.
Yes, sir, you want to add something? It was indeed a very interesting session where we could learn so many skills which were there from different continents of the world also. A little bit things which we can understand from Indonesia, what skills would be needed, what can be acquired, little bit skills which can be acquired when it comes to UK, which is and one from Malaysia. And also very good understanding about the skills which he himself is practicing as an our own alumni. So he has also helped us in understanding many things, and I hope the students have learned many things which could be incorporated and which could be an eye opener for them to a larger extent, and that would help them, which can be imbibed in them when they pursue their career, and then what can additionally be adding to it. Before I place my formal vote of thanks, I would once again like to mention that we at DY Patil Deemed to be University School of Management have a 3-year BBA course, the admission for which is open. We have a 2-year MBA course, the admission for which is open. So whoever wishes to take admission can get in touch with us. We also have our YouTube channel, which is DYPUSM webinar. So who wishes to see the past webinars which have been conducted in the previous year and the upcoming events also, I would request people to like, share, and subscribe our channel. It's free of cost. I would also like to mention that we have again an upcoming webinar which is scheduled on Saturday, which is on management education in global arena. So wish to see you all on that webinar, which is scheduled on Saturday at 5 o'clock. With this, I would now like to place my thanks to our university officials, the Chancellor, Vice Chancellor, the Registrar, and the Chairman. I would also like to place my thanks to Professor Dr. R. Gopal, Director of DYPUSM, Dr. Vani Kamath, Dean of DYPUSM, for giving the opportunity to conduct such a wonderful webinar. I would also like to place my thanks to our associate partners, Indian Merchant Chambers, MSME Chamber of Commerce and Industry of India, New Delhi, WTC, World Trade Center, Navi Mumbai, Maharashtra Chamber of Commerce, Industry and Agriculture, MCCIA, Global Export India, Global TV. I would also like to place my thanks to our own eminent speakers, the guest of honor for today, Mr. Sid Sarkar, sir, Dr. Surendra Kumar, sir, Mr. Sunil Muralidharan, sir, Mr. Anirban, our own alumni, for making this event a great success and helping us to understand many new things which we have got to learn today. I'd also like to place my thanks to the faculty members who are viewing this webinar, our students, and anybody who is viewing this webinar across the globe. Thank you so much for making this event successful. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah, before we wind up, I would like to just share the poster of next webinar. So this is the webinar which we will be hosting in the next week. So that is on 31st of July. So it will be between 5 to 6. And the topic of the webinar is management education in global arena. So we have faculty from some other institutes, and also we have a senior exim professional who will be coming and talking about the importance of management education in the current scenario. So I would request all the participants who are watching this to be a part of this webinar too. So all the information is provided here. You can look at the same, and you can be a participant here also for this webinar. Thank you so much. So I would request all the eminent speakers to be there so that we can click a photograph. Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, bye.
Sid, sir. Thank you, Sunil, sir. Thank you, Anirban.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
sir.
Bye. Bye.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you very much, everyone. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much.